Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Jessie, and welcome back to another episode of Rewired to Inspire. This show where we'll dive into self-love, learn tangible ways to rewire the brain, and discovering your soul's purpose. The goal of Rewired to Inspire is to encourage listeners to begin doing the hard work, to get curious and open to maximizing your life. Our mindset shapes how we live. Depending on life events, traumas, and personal experiences, our mindsets are all vastly different. However, one thing we all have in common is the ability to rewire our mind, to change the narrative, and to pivot our lives. I hope you leave each episode with the belief that you are so worthy to live a life true to you. I look forward to chatting with you every single Tuesday and Thursday and helping you grow exponentially in all areas of your life. Without further ado, here's today's episode. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to episode number 79 of Rewire to Inspire. I am your host, Jessie Brown, and I am thrilled, as always, to be jumping on the microphone with you all. Today is the first episode being released in December, I believe. Or no, we had one come out on Thursday. Regardless, happy December. So excited to be here. I hope you guys are all doing really, really well. I woke up this morning with a cloggy nose, which is always not ideal when recording a podcast. So again, I'm not sure what this is going to sound like on your end, if it sounds any different for you guys, but I'm definitely noticing it when I'm speaking right now. So I just hope you guys can stick with me throughout today's episode, because today is going to be an important one and one that I think we're all kind of needing in our life right now. So without further ado, I really want to chat today about all things mental health. There's been so much going on in my life recently with my own mental health, and also I just finished the mental health summit with my local school district here. So it is an event that we plan for all of our high schools. So 15 students from each high school get to come to this event, and it's focused on just delivering tools surrounded around mental health. We have lots of community partners there to educate on services that they provide and to just get youth familiar with conversations pertaining to mental health, knowing that it's okay not to be okay, giving them tools and tips and tricks, and also allowing them to meet resources that are available for them to seek support should they feel the need to. And so with that has just brought up so much, because I realized that, when I was in high school, I really wish I would have had an opportunity like that, for someone to tell me that what I'm feeling is normal and it's okay. And anxiety and depression and all these big feelings that we feel, we're feeling them because our body's trying to tell us something. It's trying to communicate with us. But often what we do when we feel those emotions is we want to suppress them. We want to get rid of them. And the thing is whenever we do that, we're really brushing off and dismissing for our body and for our mind what is really going on internally. Because our body does not just respond just to respond. We don't just feel anxious just to feel anxious, right? There's always an underlying reason for that. And sometimes that reason can be so long ago that we might not even be cognitively aware of what's causing it. And that's why going to therapy and doing the work and asking yourself hard questions and asking yourself inner child questions, doing your ACE score, there's so many resources and things in which we can do. But I've just been realizing lately how much I find as a whole our mental health has just plenished. And I feel like we're all just these nervous systems walking around, not really sure what to do. Everything's a threat. Everybody's a threat. I feel like I have a harder time connecting with people. We're all just so dissociative. And this isn't all of us, of course, but this is just kind of a common theme that I'm finding. And so my goal today is to encourage you to ask yourself what your relationship with mental health is, and B, for you to walk away with some tips and things to do to cater to your mental health. Because I think also this is a vital time of year where the days are not literally, but as far as sunlight, getting shorter. The societal pressure around the holidays is approaching, and then we have January and there's pressure to set new goals. And all these things start to compile on top of us in the months of December and January. And as I've mentioned in the past, then we go into February and we're feeling like we don't even know what's wrong with us. We feel like we've got hit by a bus. I know so many years in a row, I always end up sick in February, and it's probably because my body is just finally able to shake off all the stress. And so my body responds by being sick, because that's what it does when our immune system gets down and our nervous system is too shook up. And so I really just want to give some tips And this is nothing crazy. This is nothing like above and beyond. These are all things that we have the ability to do and things that I think we need to be doing often. And I know that some of these things for me, I haven't been doing, and I've been feeling them heavily. I know that my mental health personally has been so not good lately. That's a really bad way to frame that. I've been struggling. I'm not going to lie. And I want to be able to be honest about that, because there's no point of pretending that mental health doesn't also affect folks that are professionals and folks that have a good understanding of mental health. It still affects all of us, despite who we are. If you are a human, you have a heart beating, and you have a mind, you have mental health. Now, I do just want to address, there is a difference between mental health and mental illness. Mental health is genuinely what we feel on a day-to-day basis. It is our mind's health. It is how it's feeling, how safe it feels, how connected it feels, how well you're nourishing your body, nourishing your brain, the foods you're eating, how you're moving. It's basically your well-being. Mental illness is those deeper diagnoses that we hear, right? Schizophrenia, severe depression, PTSD, anxiety. And of course, these also ebb and flow, right? We can have anxiety but not have a mental illness. We can have depression but not have a mental illness. There is very much a line for this that I think our society has become a little bit confused with, right? So just remember, mental health refers to anyone's state of mental, emotional well-being. And mental illness is a diagnosed condition by a professional, by a psychiatrist or a psychologist, that affects our thoughts and behaviors. And these are typically things in which we cannot control, right? These are deeper underlying illnesses that affect us, that can really begin to take over our lives. And so that's why I always encourage, no matter where you are on the scale, if you have a mental illness diagnosed or if you are just dealing with common everyday mental health, both of them are equally as worthy and deserving of help and of getting support and of you feeling good and of you having tools, because I've worked with both. I have both, and I know what it's like. I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 20 years old. I was diagnosed with some kind of severe depression and anxiety illness. And as much as hearing those things really validated me and validated my feelings, one thing I always like to address is that I am not depression. I am not anxiety. I am not PTSD. I've had those and I experience those, and some days they're at the front of the room and some days they're at the back of the room. And that is why mental health is this constant roller coaster, because our emotions are going to ebb and flow. And so the more that we can do things to stay inside of our window of tolerance, which I'm going to be doing an episode on Thursday, so stay tuned for that, talking all about our regulation of emotions and why it's so important that we stay in our window of tolerance as best as possible. But it's so important that we just have that understanding and have these tools so that when we're having those rough days, we're able to communicate that with those around us and to ourselves, because it can be really, really scary and overwhelming when we feel like our body just hijacks us and we feel like we have no control. We feel like we're maybe dissociative. We feel like we're angry for no reason, sad for no reason. And we can start to just feel a lot of shame. And I know that that's what I've been feeling so heavily lately, is I'm just constantly at a fight with my own body of, well, why are you so angry right now? Why are you so sad right now? And it can just begin to be really demoralizing and hurtful, and it often makes everything worse, right? And so I wanted to just have a very open and honest conversation about that, of what is your relationship with mental health? What do you believe mental health is from your own unique perspective? How does it resonate with you? Did you ever get to have conversations about mental health? Because I know if I didn't go and study social work and continue on that journey of where I am now, I don't really know how this would have fit into my life. And I know that it's becoming more and more talked about now. However, I do truly feel like we can suppress and suppress and suppress our emotions our whole life and never even know that mental health was the backbone behind that. If we're not educated or aware of that, we can just often feel like, well, that's just who I am. and go our whole lives feeling and living so much harder than maybe we have to if we were to seek professional help and get some tools in our toolbox to support us through those moments. Another question I encourage you to ask yourself, were you brought up with certain beliefs around mental health? Was it stigmatized in your household? Was it stigmatized in your community? Was it talked about? Was it normalized? Was it validated? Was there any conversation about it? And I'm so happy that I can now see our youth, especially in the school system, normalizing these conversations about mental health because they're able to piggyback off of each other and just like have that normalcy piece. And I just think it's so, so beautiful. Whereas I remember when I was in high school, if I was feeling anxious or depressed, I didn't have a label for that. I just thought I was feeling really icky that day. I never knew that those gross butterflies in my stomach was my body's way of telling me, hey, something's not right here. That's my intuition poking at me, right? And the more that I've learned this, I just want to spread this awareness to absolutely anybody because I felt so alone for so long. And I don't want anybody to have to feel alone. My message, as always, is even if this helps one person, to me, this was worth my time. Because I would have done anything for one person to just tell me, it's okay. What you're feeling is normal. You're feeling it because you're going through a lot. And it will pass. The intensity will pass. And then something else will come in. And then the intensity of that will pass. And that is life, and it ebbs and flows. But we can grow and evolve. And again, get those tools in our toolbox with which, without further ado, I'm going to dive into right now that hopefully can help you in those moments. Before I do though, here I am without further ado, and I continue to go on. I just wanted to throw in a quick stat. So 1 in 5 people will experience a mental illness in their life. And as I've already said, we all experience mental health. We all have mental health. It does not discriminate. It affects all of us. I don't care what your age is, your race is, your culture, your background, your beliefs, your values. It doesn't matter. Mental health affects all of us, whether we want to believe that or not. The same as our physical health affects all of us. We are human beings. We have that. Mental illness affects 1 in 5 of us. And mental illness are among the most common health conditions in the world. Think about that for a second. Mental illness is the most common health condition in the world. And I think of that and I think of, okay, so mental illness is the highest. What does mental illness do to our body? If we don't notice it happening and doing the work, basically it shuts our body down. And it does that because it's trying to keep us safe. Right? So our immune system gets weaker. Our nervous system is constantly in a fight or flight. We're constantly so exhausted. We can feel unsafe in the world. And so that literally takes a toll on our body. There's so much cortisol pumping all the time, which is our stress response, which is also hard on the body. We have less happy hormones circling through our body. And so to me, when I hear that, I just see this trickle down effect of all the other things that then affects and those that it affects around us. And then what are those around us doing about that? Right? So this is a problem and we need to address this. And the fact that mental illness was not this high hundreds of years ago is also alarming. And I think that, again, going through my first tip, social connection, that was largely booted out of our life for 2 years. Social connection was like a no. Our bodies felt that and are still feeling that crave to just have a connection with someone. And for some reason, I think we've just wanted to push the pandemic aside and bury it and pretend like it didn't exist. But my friend, it happened and it existed and it's still affecting us, whether we want to bring awareness to that or not. And whether I'm the only one that wants to speak up and say that, I'm okay with that. Because I know that it affected me so severely. I know that it caused me to have social anxiety that I had never had before. I know it causes me to now feel more awkward than usual when I'm in public. It caused me to shut down a little extra when I have to give a presentation in front of real people instead of to a screen. It caused us to not trust the world. I don't care which side of the pandemic you were on, it doesn't matter. It affected us. There's people that are literally still so scared to go outside their home. And that's okay, and that's rightfully so, because that was ingrained in our brain for 2 years. Our body remembers that, our mind remembers that, and it doesn't want to go outside if that means threat, that means danger. Right? And I want to normalize this piece because social connection is the first tip that I have to help with our mental health. And if we had that taken away for so long, don't we think that that's still affecting us? And why it's so dang important now that we make sure that we have those connections, and especially connections with those that are in alignment and who energize you. Don't just have a connection with someone just to have a connection. If it's bringing nothing in return, if it's not supporting you, if it's not lifting you up, it's not the right connection for you. We have to make sure that we're connecting with those that lift us up and make us feel the most in alignment and alive and just happy to be here. And so that is my first tip, is to stay connected. And furthermore, asking yourself, do I think the last 2 years has affected this piece for me? And if so, A, knowing you're not alone, and B, knowing that we can slowly over time rewire our brain to know that people are safe. It is safe to go outside. It is safe to connect. In fact, we need that. We need to connect to relax our body more than we need to isolate to protect ourselves. And that is just my belief and my truth. And I'm okay with stating that because, again, this is my podcast. This is my belief. And I want this to be as much in alignment for my listeners as possible. And I can only do that and attract that through speaking my truth. Okay, that was heavy. I hope you guys are okay. I'm going to do a quick little check-in. I encourage you guys to check in with yourself. As you can tell, this is why I started my podcast in general. I am very, very passionate about mental health and mental illness and having these open, honest conversations. So I hope you guys are okay. Just doing a quick little check-in, knowing whatever you're feeling right now is okay and is valid. And if you're angry at what I'm saying right now, that is also okay, because that's poking something within you at your beliefs and about your values. And that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. Okay, my second tip for you guys, stay active. Move your body, get outside, exercise, dance, whatever. Moving your body and staying active is so good for your brain and your body because it relieves stress. It releases happy hormones. It causes us to improve our memory. It allows us to sleep better. It allows us and our body to actually repair itself, right? Moving our body is one of the best things we can do for our mental health. I take multiple walks a day, but intentionally, I take my dog for a walk every day for my mental health. That's what I call it. This is my walk for my mental health. And when I'm outside, I'm very mindful of, I always have like an audiobook or a podcast or something in my ears playing, but I'm always very mindful of looking around me. What am I noticing? Bringing my senses in. Oh, that tree is so pretty. Oh, that house is so lovely. Oh, I love that, garden over there. Whatever it is, just trying to get out of my head for a second and into the present world. And I think that staying active and working out and moving our body allows us to do that because it allows us to stop thinking about all of our shit for a second and to just focus on what it is that we're doing. That's my favorite thing to do at the gym. If I'm doing reps, the whole time in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm doing 3 reps of 15 or whatever it is. And the whole time I'm just counting 1, 2, just getting my mind to focus on something else outside of my everyday problems. And it is so helpful because even just turning that off for your brain for just a second allows your body to relax. It allows your nervous system to relax. And it's just such a beautiful and, quite honestly, easy thing that we can give for ourselves. And that might look different every day. My goal always is 30 minutes of fitness a day. Sometimes that means going to the gym and lifting weights for an hour. And sometimes that means going for a 30-minute walk with my dog around the block. It's just a way to normalize and build in that habit of moving your body each and every day. My third tip for you guys is to talk to somebody that you trust. We, as humans, and this is going off of that social connection, we need people that we trust to talk to. If we're having a hard time, who are you able to tell this to? The other day I was talking to my mom on the phone and I said, I'm just way more anxious than I ever have been in my life. And even just verbally saying that made me feel so much better because I'm like, okay, now another human being knows that I'm feeling this way. It allows me to just feel a little more safe and not alone. And although in that moment my mom didn't say anything to take my problems away because that's not what it's about, she was just there to listen and validate. And that's exactly what it means to have someone that you trust that you can talk to. Our body loves that sense of safety. And again, that calms our nervous system down when we're able to feel safe enough to just express how we're feeling and to be vulnerable, getting things literally off your chest and communicating that. It's such an effortless thing that we can do, but it's so important that we do that with somebody that we trust and that can hold space for us. Number 4, which I brought this one up a little bit when I was talking about my walks, but it's to notice your senses and to do as many things as possible to stimulate them. So your senses, what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch. So have you ever, like, I know for myself personally, when I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I like to listen to classical music. I have always enjoyed doing this since middle school, I want to say. I can't remember a time in which I didn't do this, but listening to classical music or ADHD soft music or just calm music without words calms me right down. It calms my nervous system down. So that is my ears, my sound being stimulated. Maybe for you, it's listening to hard rock and roll to get your anger out, right? Maybe it's listening to hip hop. Like, I don't know. What is it that you can listen to that will help to calm you down? I also like to do this with Disney movies. If I'm feeling super stressed, I know that if I put even a Disney movie on in the background when I'm cleaning my house or doing something, it just calms me down because it's a familiar sound to my mind that I know means safety. And going into nature, what are you looking at? Are things around you calming to your system? Maybe cleaning your room and then looking at it all clean is something that can help to relieve stress. Noticing things that are around you is such a good way that we can either escalate or de-escalate our nervous system. And so being mindful of the things in which that are around us, we surround ourselves with, and that we have to look at all the time because it does matter and it does affect us. Oils, smell, our sense of smell. Oh, essential oils. I could talk about essential oils all day. You guys know that. I've been a Young Living rep for over 2 years. It is my favorite company in the world by far for essential oils and toxin-free products. And honestly, I don't know how I lived my life genuinely without essential oils to support me, not only with my health, my mental health, but just to calm me down. Whenever I'm having a lot of emotions or I'm overwhelmed, I'll put some essential oils in my hands and I'll take some deep breaths. That signals to our brain and calms down the limbic system, the part of our brain that communicates with our hippocampus that it's okay, we can relax, we can digest, we can rest, and it just calms us down. The same with if we smell chocolate chip cookies, you might think of your grandma and that's a safe space for you. Or maybe on the other side of that, maybe there's a certain smell that's very triggering for you. And so it's super important that we begin to know these things about ourselves so that we can identify the things that are triggering, to not necessarily avoid them, but to just be aware of them. And also the good things, the things that help us. Essential oils, for example, maybe you have, I don't know, a certain smell. Maybe it's vanilla. Maybe it's, I don't know, waffles. And in the morning, I'm making waffles. Anything that just helps to calm you down. That was a Shrek reference if nobody caught on to that. Anyways, all right. A blanket. A blanket is super good for that feeling of touch, something soft, something soothing. Fidget toys are great for this. Food, something we taste. Maybe it's water, maybe it's coffee. All of our senses like to have different things to stimulate them. And it's so important that we find the things that stimulate them in a positive way and that make us feel good so that we can practice those often. My 5th tip for you guys is to do things that relax your body. So yoga, mindfulness, meditation, deep breaths, just sitting and being in your body for a moment, taking time every day, even if it's 30 seconds to a minute, to just find gratitude, come back to your mind, come back to your body, and just be in your body for a second. We are so, and I'm guilty of this, go. One place to the next, one thing to the next, one meeting to the next. It's just like, oh my gosh, my poor body. It can't keep up and neither can my mind. And then at the end of the day, when it gets to turn off, it's just like this flood of emotions and it is so intense. But if we're able to check in throughout the day, those feelings might decrease a little bit and we're so deserving of that. So finding time each and every day to relax your body. Number 6. I struggle with this one big time. Taking time to be away from your work. And I do not believe in an equal balance of work-life balance. I just don't believe in it. I don't believe it exists. I definitely spend way more time chasing my future dreams than I do spend resting. And for me, that's what works for me. Because I know that I feel aligned when I'm following my mission. I know I feel aligned and in flow when I'm recording or working with Next Level University or working with a client. I know that those are the times that I feel my best self. And so I have a really hard time stepping away from that sometimes. But I also realize that without that stepping away and without that resting period, I'm eventually going to burn out and I'm not going to be able to continue what I'm doing. And we all have extremes of this. Some of us get home from work and the first thing that we want to do is just sit on the couch and watch Netflix all night. We have to find some harmony within this to not rest too much, but also not just work to work to work. And again, I hate that word balance, but there is somewhat of a balance individualized to each of us. I know for a fact that I'm going to be working more hours later than 90% of the people that surround me. And that's okay. That's what I love to do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And maybe for them, that's not in alignment. But we have to remember that it's okay and to have the permission, especially if you're someone who is really invested in your craft and invested in what you're doing. Reminder that you're no good to anybody if you're no good for yourself. And that is why I always take Sundays. Ironically enough, I'm recording on a Sunday right now, so I should probably go rest after this, which actually I'm going to. I'm going to a cookie swap after this. I'm pretty excited, but I get to do this first, which makes my day. Honestly, I couldn't have been more excited to come on here and do this, but I'm also reminding myself that after this, okay, you need to take some time away because there's another busy week ahead of you and it's going to just start to catch up. And so taking some well-deserved time for yourself. Number 7, eat as best as possible. Nourish your body, you guys. Oh my goodness. Hydrate your body. Give yourself nutrients. I also struggle with this because it'll be 6 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't ate anything. Not good. Not good. So this is one that I'm largely trying to work on for myself because I know that this is a part of my hormones fluctuating. I know this is a part of my mood fluctuating. It's not a secret. Food helps to regulate our body. Making sure that we are eating as best as possible is crucial. And this is, again, a reminder for myself because I struggle big time with this. So if you also struggle with this, again, just know you're not alone. But I, again, as always, just want to be open and honest because there's some of these that I am really good at and a lot of these I'm not really good at and I'm struggling with and I'm trying my best to implement them. And that is really all we can do in all walks of life is to identify the areas in which we feel like maybe we need improvement and to go and tackle that. But if we are just sitting with our excuses all the time and letting them run our life, it will run our lives until we're able to make that pivot for ourselves. So eating as best as possible is huge for your brain health, for your body, for your digestion, to know when it's predictable to eat, right? For our stomach, for our blood, everything. Our whole body just needs to know and have somewhat of an understanding of when we're going to consume food, what foods that is, so our body is able to work with us as best as possible to digest whatever it is that we are consuming. So stay hydrated, eat as best as possible. Number 8, one that I love, this is one I'm so good at actually, and that's to prioritize sleep. So I used to have such a bad relationship with sleep. I'm like, sleep is I should get up at 4:30 every day and just grind it out. And like, that's what I'm supposed to do. And then no wonder come 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was ready for bed. Sleep is our body and mind's way of recharging, reprocessing, and getting ready for the next day. Sleep is literally everything for our body to be able to shut down properly at the end of the night, wake up properly in the morning. I always encourage 8 hours of sleep because I think that is honestly a pretty good standard. And if you have to wake up at 5, make sure you're going to bed earlier. And I know that it can be hard, but we have to give ourselves enough sleep. Sleep is how our body repairs itself, especially if we are working out and eating good and doing all these things. Our body needs that sleep and time to just rest. Our mind needs that time to be turned off to just rest. Sleep is so, so, so important. And honestly, like, how fun is that to say? And obviously, again, there's extremes to this. If you're sleeping 12, 13 hours, then that's also not really great. You need to find that, equal balance. Again, I hate that word balance because it just doesn't exist. It's so different for all of us and we're always going to overswing or underswing. But 7 to 9 hours, I would say, is kind of the sweet spot. But you know your body best. You know what helps you feel the most energized, and you know what works for you. But sleep is so stinking important, you guys, especially for our mental health. Number 9, I have 2 left for you guys. Number 9, finding purpose and meaning. This one I know can be really demoralizing, especially if we don't know what that thing is. But we all know what some of our interests are. We know what like some of the things are that make us happy. We know that. We know it. We can name at least one or two things that make us happy, even if it's not like your hardcore purpose. But we have things that give us meaning and make us happy. And so how often are you practicing those things? It should be, honestly, every single day. It doesn't have to be for hours upon hours. It can literally be 10 to 30 minutes. But every single day, we need to be doing things that give us purpose and give us meaning. And again, this is going to look different for all of us, and that's okay because no two of us are the same. But we have to make sure we're doing what's best for us and what makes us happy and our souls happy, because that's what life is about. If we're working our arses off all the time and doing all these things and trying to be here and be there, what are we doing to just have fun and to do things that we know that we love? And so take time every day to find purpose and meaning. And last but not least, seek help and support if you feel like you need to. So if you feel like you're at a point with your mental health where you just feel like you're alone, you're not understood, you maybe want to do the deeper work, maybe you want to process some stuff, maybe you just want to talk out some stuff with a therapist or a counselor or whoever, I definitely encourage you and want to give you that permission to do so. Seeing a therapist and then seeing a psychiatrist was the best decision of my life. It was literally the best decision of my life. And I'm right now in the works of trying to find another therapist here where I live, because I know how important it is to be proactive in that. We don't have to go to the doctor just when we're sick. We can go to get a proactive checkup. It's the same with our mental health. We don't have to I hear people say all the time, well, I don't really know what to talk about. Talk about anything, your interest. It doesn't have to be negative all the time. I would have clients come in for sessions with me, and sometimes we would just talk about their favorite movie for an hour. Sometimes we would talk about what they did on the weekend. It doesn't have to be this scripted, crying, processing thing. It can be, and it is, but not always. We get to be proactive in that. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing that I want to normalize, because talking to someone doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than. If anything, if you're going to therapy, I'm like, yes, you are. That is freaking awesome. And if anybody shames you for that, that's likely because they feel some type of way about going to therapy, and that maybe means that they have some processing work that they need to do, and that's okay. We all have a different relationship with that. And I know that men feel this a little bit stronger. And so if there's any men listening, just know that going to therapy is cool. Going to therapy is the new thing, and it's super awesome because it allows us to be our best self and to just feel validated and normalized. And that's such a beautiful thing. So before we go for today, as always, when I talk about heavy mental health things, I want you to check in with yourself again. We did 2 check-ins so far. Maybe putting your hand on your heart, validating for yourself how you're feeling. Are you doing any of these things? Do you want to incorporate these things more? Are you struggling a little more than you used to? Do you have anyone you feel like you can talk to? Knowing that it's okay whatever you're feeling right now. Knowing that you're deserving to get support if you're needing that. Knowing that you're not alone. I just really wanted to share that through today's message of really making myself vulnerable and saying all the things that I'm struggling with. So again, I can even help one person on the other end of this feel like, okay, if she's dealing with that, at least I'm not alone. And then finding a way to seek support around you, doing things that you love, moving your body, right? Nourishing yourself, prioritizing your sleep, eating as best as possible, noticing your emotions, doing things for your senses. I promise you guys, with each of these things, you will begin to feel at least a little bit better. A little bit, because it allows our body to have somewhat structure, somewhat of an organized thought pattern of things to expect. Our minds have been wired with unpredictability again during the pandemic, and so the more that we can give ourselves reassurance and predictability, the more that our mind will begin to rest and our nervous system will begin to settle, and that's such a beautiful thing and honestly the goal. So thank you guys so much as always for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. Definitely stay tuned for Thursday's episode where I'm going to dive into the window of tolerance, talking about what that is, how to stay in our window of tolerance, and again continuing on this journey of mental health, because for December I largely want to focus on mental health because I know that it can be a really big common theme this time of year. So thank you guys so much as always. All the love. Until next time. Bye you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode of Rewire to Inspire. I absolutely love connecting with you all, so make sure you're following me on Instagram. I am at JessieBrown13. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to leave a review or share with someone you think would enjoy. I look forward to chatting with you all next episode. And remember, get out of your head and into your heart.